Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our Sunday gathering. I'm Sandra Champlain. I'm host of a couple of podcasts on life and the afterlife. I'm an author, I'm a friend, and we came together, my friends and I, just short of 3 years ago, which is crazy. This is actually our 103rd Sunday gathering. And we came together in a time that, well, times were tough when COVID hit, and we thought, what could we do to give and inspire and give back? And little did we know that we'd have one of the biggest online communities and Sunday gatherings going. In fact, if you're here for the first time, did you know you're part of one of the most powerful groups of people? If you can imagine this beautiful globe spinning around and there's all kinds of beams of light going around, and one of them is because you're seated in your seat right now. We celebrate life, we celebrate the afterlife, and today we're going to celebrate miracles, the invisible, and illusions. Because, my friends, we are so much more powerful than we know. There is this unseen world around us. I believe, as do my friends, that we are souls having a human experience. And with that, we have all kinds of power that we have not yet tapped. So there's a lot of pain and suffering going on planet Earth right now. And we're here to tell you that we can make a difference. We absolutely can. So Carrie will be doing our opening prayer today, talking to us about healing and leading us into healing. Phil first, and then Darren, and then myself will share in the address. So there's some surprises around the corner, followed by a demonstration of mediumship with Phil and Carrie. Carrie will be doing our words for the week, always some shot of inspiration and power for you, and followed by Darren doing the closing prayer. So we want to really welcome you wherever you are in the world or wherever you are in your mind and in your feelings. You are perfectly 100% accepted and loved, and you are part of us. So welcome. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are and whatever time of the day you're joining us with. We're pleased to have you here. Now, we're going to open our Sunday gathering, as usual, with those words that celebrate life and enter into a gratitude. So whoever your God is, allow us to enter into prayer. Divine and ever-present light of this world, as we enter into our Sunday gathering, we enter into that truth that we are loved and that we can be loved and love others too. Our world needs love and healing at this moment, and therefore all through our Sunday gathering today, we know that you will take every glimmer of hope and joy, love and healing generated and take it to where it's needed most. We entrust this to you, for we know that within that intention, therefore, it is done. May the speakers and mediums today offer everybody that comes in contact with you know that that divine spark is within themselves. That divine spark really exists within each and every one of us. May our 90 minutes today allow us to feel connected to one another, bring hope and joy within our own hearts, and allow us to feel that truth of everlasting love. Amen. And today, Sandra's asked me to do a talk on something which all of us here are passionate about, and it's about healing. People sometimes can misunderstand healing, so I thought I'd give a few words about what it encompasses. It encompasses all sorts of alternative therapies. You might have heard some of them: spiritual healing, Sikhem, Source Star, Reiki, crystal, sound and color healing. It all comes, in my view, from the same source, that source of divine power, that creative force of life. Many of you will call that source God. It remains a place within that God force. Spiritual healing is sent with complete ease, but it does require for us to be in a place of attunement. Now, there's one person that understands how healing worked, and you might have heard of him. He was called Masaru Emoto. Now, he did experiments where he spoke about the human body being 60% made of water and the planet that we live on being 60% water as well. And therefore, he did experiments into how emotions and words affected water. So what he did was he used high-speed photography to view water as he exposed it to certain words and music and thoughts. So one set of water he exposed to classical music, positive thoughts, positive words. He wrote positive letters to the water. Then he froze it and he saw the ice crystal formed beautiful shapes and beautiful colors. He then shared a different set of water with music that was not as resonant, with words that were not as kind, with letters that didn't share goodness, and with thoughts that were negative. And when he froze that water, it became incomplete and asymmetric, and the colors were much duller. If we were to take this into view and take this into our thoughts, imagine what would happen if each and every single one of you was to think about yourself in a more positive way. If you're 60% water, imagine what you can do to your physical body just by saying and thinking and writing and acting in a positive way. And if everybody on the planet did that, imagine what would happen to every single molecule of water in all the bodies of water on our planet. Wouldn't that just be fantastic? However, we live in the real world where not everybody can get to that place and have that place within themselves. So it relies on every person as they feel that they're able to enter into a really positive space. And it requires for people as they enter into that positive space to know what to do. Because often, if we're sending healing, we're thinking about people who are not well, who are not in situations we would like them to be, or who are experiencing things that we feel are unkind and unfair. But if we enter into healing and send them all our thoughts about how unjust and how unkind, then we're kind of adding to the scenarios they're already in. If people are dealing with ill health and a mindset that isn't all healthy for them, and we send them more about what we think about that, then we're sending them more of what they already have. So it requires for us as healers, and yes, you are a healer. I'm going to show that you are just by the end of this session. You can make all the difference. You are the interface between a divine energy and a physical energy that is spiritual. And if you can allow yourself to be in that place, you can understand that energy can't be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. It will only change. Just like water, you take out of the tap or the faucet, you put into a kettle, it boils, it turns into steam. It cannot be destroyed. So all we're going to do in healing is to take a divine healing power and change it into a power that can be used within our physical world. Now, we know people become unhealthy, unwell, or at dis-ease or disharmony due to a number of different reasons. But generally, those reasons come with two causes. One can be hereditary. It's in our genes. In some way, we're predisposed to some kind of ill health or unease or dis-ease. The other aspect is environmental. So wherever we live, the social class, the background, our mental and emotional distress, the levels that we have to deal with mental upset, war, conflict, but healing can make a difference. And what we've found as healers is that when somebody's soul is touched by healing, it does respond and it will have an effect. But what we can't do as healers is guarantee an outcome, because healing works within the physical laws. It works within the laws of the nature of our planet. The laws of our planet, the laws of nature, are controlled by the spiritual laws. They are different. What the spiritual laws are, I suppose we'll get to know sooner or later at one time. But for now, we can only work within the natural laws. So if it's the divine timing for somebody to leave this physical world and move into the spiritual world, there's no amount of healing can stop that. But the healing instead can ease that transition. It can ease the suffering, it can ease the worry, and it can ease the pain for the individual as well as the family. Now, if we think about if we're environmentally exposing ourselves to things that make us unwell, and we don't change that environment, then any kind of healing is going to wear off, and the environment causes the dis-ease or the disharmony to happen again, which is why people often go back for healing maybe twice a week, perhaps more, perhaps less. Spiritual healing, for those that deliver spiritual healing, is often delivered in spiritual centers, spiritual churches, in absent healing, distance healing, and often has no charge to it. More often than not, has no charge to it. Now, we know that we have our healing list, and people go on to that healing list. We sit in healing every single day before we go to sit in the power, because we know that environmentally, people have those situations. So we send healing, people momentarily feel a little bit better, life becomes a little bit easier. But if the things can't be changed or are not changed, then the healing wears off and the environment comes back in. So healing, it's not like it's a cure, but it will help somebody uncover what is creating that dis-ease or disharmony, and hopefully plants a seed as to what might need to change. But for the moment, we can do our bit. We can do our help. We can do our part in helping somebody's world become better. So you become what we would call the channel for healing. You don't become magical, you don't become all powerful, you do not become all wonderfully powerful, other than the powerful being you already are. When you put that to good use and you sit within that creative force of life, you can be that channel for that creative force of life or God. Doesn't require for you to go into an altered space. In fact, it's better that you don't. Healing requires for you to stay perfectly present and go into what we would call into the power. Because as you go into the power, you allow yourself to channel the healing. And the beautiful thing is, as the healing moves through you, some of the healing remains within you, even after you've stopped healing. Some of it stays with you. So we're here to allow ourselves to enter into that place of healing. And I'm going to take just a minute or two to walk you into that healing space. Now, there are many people on here with us live that are able to do this. We know we have people on Facebook. We know we have people that will join us on YouTube and lots of other platforms. So cumulatively, we are going to create an incredible amount of healing that can be sent to an individual of your choosing. But I guarantee that they will not need all the healing we're going to send. So all the rest of the healing can go to a community or a town or a city or indeed a country of your choosing. And all of that healing, the people in that place, country, town, or city won't even know that they've received it. But what you know is that you've helped make their day a little bit more manageable than it would have been without the healing that you've sent. So I'm going to walk you into the healing, and in a minute or two after I've finished, the piece of music will begin. And as that piece of music begins, allow yourself just to sit within that healing power. So before the piece of music, allow yourself, just if it's safe to do so, to sit quiet with your eyes closed and set the intention of being that healing channel for an unseen world. And as you do, relax the body and set your intention on expanding yourself through each breath in and each breath out. Feel that natural growth within you. The physical body can't grow, but the spiritual, emotional, and mental parts of you, that etheric body, that auric field, expands. And as that expands, it allows you to create that channel for the healing to move through. And if you can hold this space for the period of the song, then you will allow yourself to be that channel. So slowly that unseen world is going to begin to allow that healing to flow through you. Don't send it anywhere just yet, but get used to what it feels like to have healing move through you. You don't need to do anything other than be that channel for the healing to move through. Allow yourself to be touched by that divine source. And now within your mind, set the intention of a person, a place, a city, or a country, and feel you move that healing power in that direction. And for the remainder of this piece of music, allow yourself to trust that that healing's going where is needed.
Thank you, Sandra, Darren, Kerry. Ladies and gentlemen, good day wherever you are in the world. It's an absolute pleasure to start off the address portion of the Sunday gathering. But I must say thank you to Kerry for that wonderful description and understanding of healing, and Sandra for that wonderful music that lifted us emotively, helping us envisage those people and places that we may have sent healing to allow that power to do its work, remembering that that power is created by you and can never be destroyed. But it also brings me back to what Sandra has asked me to talk about, the invisible, whether that is the healing that you've sent, and you've got a faith and understanding and trust and a belief that that has just worked. It brings me to the thought of those unbelievable forces or those invisible forces that are all around us. You may sit within your rooms right now looking at your screens, whether it is a laptop, a computer, a phone, or whether it is the TV you've put us on the large screen, as some people say. But actually, as we look at what we're talking about here, the invisible, it's magnificent and it's a truth, it's a beauty, it's a wonder of the world, because it's talking about something that we believe in, but we yet cannot see, cannot touch. That belief that we may have in a God force. And it took me down the thought of, what does God mean? Where does God come from? What is God all about? Well, I did a little bit of research, and there seemed to be some kind of confusion around it. In Anglo-Saxon times, the word God derives from the word good. But yet, in the English dictionary, it said it's taken from the Germanic language of Juden, meaning God. So there seems to be that little bit of confusion. But as I got my thoughts together with it, I actually thought it's a very personal journey. It's a personal journey because it's a belief. It's a faith we have within us. And that faith and belief over time has many names. Today we call it a God or a God source, but in the past it's been talked as the divine soul, a creative or the creation of a universe. It may be a spirit worshipped or even a superhuman being to some cultures. So you can see straight away, just by a few of these examples, it is personal, it is a belief, maybe of society at the time, maybe your upbringing, maybe the way that you've been brought into life through religion. What I'm about to talk about, I don't mean any offense. It is my belief, my understanding, as you, ladies and gentlemen, have your own belief of what God is, whether it is that power that governs nature and every human soul, whether it is a perfect being with wisdom, or whether you feel it's a father, a God figure that brings you comfort, just like a parent. I know there's people out there that don't like that term. So again, it's a personal belief, an understanding of self. But yet, as we look at this personal belief and this understanding, again, it's something we cannot touch. It's something we cannot see. That understanding is yours and yours alone. My understanding is it's a creative force of life. It's within that power. That's what the God force is. You've all sat, listened to that wonderful piece of music and allowed that God force to move through you, to be sent to where it's needed. And Kerry stated that that power still lives within you. That's part of it stays within you and brings you healing. Therefore, understanding that creative force of life is all around us within this world. As I said, look at the screens you're looking at, look at your rooms that you're sat in. That's not just the unseen force that's there. There is God around us. The spirit world's around us. Your loved ones are around us all the time. Understanding just because we can't see doesn't mean that they're not there, but having that faith that they are there brings us hope. That hope is not just a thought, is not just a concept, but it is that belief within you, a belief that brings intention. It can be a prayer. When we're in those times of need, just like there's many parts of the world right now in need, they pray. They pray to whatever their God is, whatever that force is. And I believe, as I said, that creative force of life is running through us all. It's a personal thought, it's a moral compass, it's our ethics, it's the light within our darkness. Yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the light within our darkness, because where there is light, it has to light everything up. And as much as we can love, we can also hate. So it is the light, it is the good within us. And it's understanding that that light brings us hope. The good brings us that hope. It actually helps us look for something and look within for that creative force to bring forward a positivity, a faith that can heal, a faith that can create miracles, that can work wonders. That positive thought is living. That positive thought can manifest in many intentions of self and in others. You've heard us speak in the past about we are glass houses. And what I mean by that is that our thoughts, our intentions, as they manifest within us, they're heard by the universe. They're heard by your God. They manifest, or they can even be heard by the spirit world, your loved ones. Those loved ones that are around us all the time, still caring for us, still looking over us, still wanting the best for us. And through that term, that happening that we call mental mediumship, if you understand that it's their choice to come back to inspire you, to bring you love, to bring you comfort, to bring you understanding of life, showing their support, but yet we can't physically see them. We can't physically touch them. But there's something within us that is so strong that we know that it's true, that it's right. That's that personal belief and personal faith. But when we look at those prayers that are sent and they're heard, and that universe and our loved ones create those miracles, we know that as we pray, we're praying to something bigger. We're praying to life itself. And I know right now, everything that you sat in that healing through that prayer, of intention, that divinity, that healing, that power is working, manifesting, creating good within this world. But it's not just you. The spirit world take that power and they create it and use it for the greater good into areas that you probably didn't think of that are still in need. But yet today we hear the spirit world called energy or a vibration. There's a male energy, there's a female energy, there's a male vibration. Well, actually, ladies and gentlemen, they're your loved ones. They're real people with emotions and with feelings. There's many types of mediumship I've sat within, and there's many types of experiences I've had. I've had the spirit world come back and feel my physical body and how emotional they become to remember the feeling of the body. And yet I've had that pleasure and real pleasure of delivering a contact to people that has brought so much comfort and healing. But within me, just like that healing, there's also a comfort within me knowing a truth. But yet I can't see it at times, I can't touch it, but it's working. It's a movement of power through us all. Just because I'm a medium doesn't mean that I'm the only one in touch with the spirit world or that God force. For me, medium has many terms: a doctor, a nurse, an artist, somebody that creates, allows that God force to move through them and create masterpieces, wonders, creates service and to humanity and brings that upliftment. But yet it's an expression of self. So therefore, for me, God isn't just around us, lives within us. And it's an expression of God that comes out of us, whether we are a doctor, a nurse, a musician, or the milkman, the butcher, the candlestick maker. We're in service to humanity. We're in service to mankind. So when we talk about that unseen world, they're extremely intelligent. They remind us of memories we shared. They give us that comfort, that upliftment. They give us the inspiration at times to keep on going. The spirit world or your loved ones can at times manifest themselves with different impressions. Because sometimes we think of the spirit world and angelic wisdoms and angelic worlds as different things, but for me, they're the same. It's our loved ones coming back through choice, through that love they have for us to guide us, to comfort us, to be there at the right moment. And these miracles do happen at times. We hear some wonderful stories about how man moves mountains or ladies move mountains in the actual happenings. That's that divine power moving through us with the love and the force of our loved ones. Even today, where people have been together working through emotive states, allowing that force and that power that's unseen to move them mentally, emotionally, and physically, to be the greater servant to those unseen powers, those invisible things. It's our faith, ladies and gentlemen. It's our belief. It's an expression of self, something we call on through hard times, through prayer. But most of all, it's something that inspires. It's something that really takes us forwards and helps us get through those sticky moments in life. Whatever you want to call it, whatever God you want to believe in is your choice and your right. What we need to know is that they're all the same. For the greater good of mankind and humanity, that's what it's all about. So actually, as we look at that spirit world in particular, they're here to help us, guide us, support us. Somebody said to me recently, how dare you speak directly to the spirit? You should be speaking through the guide. And I said, the guide is there to help the spirit world, to get them in place for each other, for the communication. We deal with the spirit world directly because it's their story they want to convey to you, the loved one, in the way that they choose, whether it's emotional, whether it's objective, whether it's just taking you through memories, because they're the intelligent ones. That invisible world is intelligent. They do things the right way to bring comfort and healing, to take you down through the memories that you should have, because they know that creates that healing. So for my part of this address, it's coming to an end, but I want you to believe in your truth, in your faith, in your God, in your belief of what the spirit world is, or that angelic realm as well. Because even though we might work as evidential mediums, we still believe in these wonderful things. We believe in those truths that are out there, and we know when we get to the spirit world, there'll be much more to learn. So I'm going to leave you and move from that invisible world and hand you over to Mr. Darren Wynne.
Thank you for that, Phil. And it was lovely to hear Phil's words and his speech about that invisible world. And it was amazing to sit here and listen to Kerry talk and explain in great detail about healing, because healing is so important, more now today than ever, but it can be misunderstood, misrepresented. So it's nice to have it and hear it all put into perspective, what healing is and what it's about. And I hope that helps a lot of people to kind of clarify what the healing's about. My job today is to talk about miracles. I can only talk from my own perspective, my own point of view. And one of the things I'm going to touch on is a miracle of the spirit world. You know, Phil's already touched on the spirit world being all around us and what a miracle that is. And I can only speak from my experience, and I'm going to talk about the miracles of the seance room. Some 18 plus years ago, I met a gentleman that many of you have probably known and seen, Scott Milligan. Yes, we met over 18 years ago. And probably about 16 years ago, some 2 years later, I was introduced for the first time ever to a wonderful miracle known as the spirit world. I had no knowledge, no understanding, didn't even know it existed. I lived in a different world back then, but I was introduced to this wonderful thing called the spirit world. And my first introduction into the spirit world was one day, I kind of knew vaguely what he did, but not 100%. It was kind of touched upon. And one day he said to me, "We're a little bit short in the home circle. Did you want to come along?" And I'm quite an intrigued person, interested person in various different things. I was intrigued. So I said, yes, let's go along. I don't know what I'm going to do, what it's about, but let's go along. So this evening I turned up at John Austin's house in Hove, was greeted by all these wonderful people. But I found it strange because they were overly friendly, overly welcoming, which I wasn't used to. I wasn't used to people behaving in that manner. But obviously people in the spiritual movement generally are more welcoming, very inviting. So I went along and we went into the living room of John Austin's house. And that was it. I was sat there at the back of this room. We were sat in kind of a circle on the sofas and chairs, etc. And when I saw Scott being strapped down in a chair and, you know, windows were being blacked out and all this, so I had panic across my face. And honestly, back then I had no knowledge or understanding of the spirit world whatsoever. I'd never even seen a mental medium demonstrate work or I knew nothing of it. And I thought, I've joined a cult. This is a cult I've joined. And I remember sitting there, the lights going off, music, you know, an opening prayer was said. And I thought, I'll go with it. And then things started to happen. Things started to move around the room. You know, we were sat in total darkness. I'd never had any experience of the spirit world. And then objects started to be lifted and moved around the room. I'd never wanted to get out of somewhere so quick in my life because I hadn't been briefed. I hadn't been told. All these things were going on. But to everyone in the room, it seemed normal. And then a voice spoke to me. You know, a voice came through in the entranced state and started talking to me. And I thought, this is so strange. But we engaged in a conversation. And it was time passed, you know, several weeks, months have passed, and I still couldn't get my head around it. Nobody had sat and explained it to me, but I was still intrigued. I went along week in, week out. John invited me to be part of the home circle. And from that, it kind of grew. I was still petrified, but at the same time, I was intrigued. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know what was going on. What was this about? And over the sort of coming, I suppose it took me a few years to really get to grips with it. But I remember, obviously me and Scott were together and he used to go away working a lot. And he asked me to join him on these, you know, when he's going away working. And he said, when we go away working, can you be circle leader? I said, what is this circle leader about? What do they do? And obviously I had to run the circle with no experience, no sort of real knowledge or understanding. But he had faith in me to do that. And I was petrified, you know, hearing these people move around, these voices. I could hear people moving around the room. people manifesting around them, and it petrified the life out of me. Then all of a sudden, something clicked into place. I got to know the communicators. I got to understand the reasoning behind it. I got to see the impact, a medium can have on someone that's going through a moment of grief, a moment of suffering. I got to see the comfort it brought people, and I got to see a bigger picture. And I think for me, it took a couple of years. I never questioned anybody about it, never spoke to anyone about it, just going along week in, week out, sitting in a home circle with a physical medium, learning and talking to the other world. And the penny just suddenly dropped. And for me, that was my miracle moment. I got to be part of this miracle world known as the spirit world. I got to see it, experience it, and be part of it. And I can only talk about some of the experience that I class as real miracles. I mean, everything, they're all miracles. But before I do go on, I want to say, for me personally, I've had all these wonderful miracles. I've experienced these miraculous moments in a seance room. But like any form of mediumship, it takes work, it takes dedication, and it takes practice and commitment. Nobody, and I'm sure Phil, Kerry, Scott have said this along the years in different courses and workshops, you can't just be a medium. You can't just, it's not just a switch you turn on. It takes a lot of work, practice, and dedication, not just from you, but if you're sat in a circle, you need dedication from your sitters, from that network of support around you. So when I go through these things, if anyone's thinking, wow, that's good, I'd love to experience that, I'd love to do that, by all means, go away, learn it, practice it. But it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. And a bit like the healing that Kerry spoke about, you have to have that right intent, that right motivation behind it. And that's the key, the right intent and the right motivation behind it. But some of the things I experienced, some of the miracles I experienced, people say to me sometimes, wow, it must be amazing. Being with Scott, you must get all this private communication. Do you know what? I've never had a contact. I've never had a communication with Scott, but I don't want that. I'm not there for that. I'm there to be a facilitator, I suppose, between the unseen world and Scott. And you know what? It gives me more joy and satisfaction to see someone else get that communication, someone else have that moment of truth, someone else have that inspiration. And that's what it's all about. But when I first started, I had a lot of trust from the unseen world. They asked me to do a lot of tasks. And I was like, what? How am I going to do that? I don't know how to do that. But they always said to me, have faith and trust. And I can speak to you about some of the bits that I saw. When I first started sitting with Scott, he was in the early stages of developing phenomena where things were starting to move around the room, where things was beginning to manifest. And I had to facilitate, and I really I'm appreciative of those moments. I had to try and facilitate in those moments. When the spirit world started to manifest and move objects, it took a lot of practice and a lot of dedication. It didn't just happen like that. It took a lot of practice. And when they first started to do it, started to manipulate objects around the room, it was quite aggressive. It was quite sudden. It wasn't smooth. And it took, like I said, it took a lot of dedication from the circle and myself to kind of help and facilitate in that. But when we went out into the public with it and started sitting within the public circles, when the phenomena started, again, people were manifesting, there was hands manifesting, and it's really hard to describe when you've not been in that situation and witnessed the kind of things that I've been lucky to witness. Most of you probably know when the spirit world manifests an object, they use a substance known as ectoplasm that comes from the medium, and it's connected to the medium's body. In a home circle environment, I've been lucky enough to see that ectoplasm in some degree of life, joined to Scott's physical body, moving around the room, forming hands, forming objects, holding objects. I've been lucky enough to see that. To me, that was a miracle. But when we go into the public, it's not as easy to demonstrate to that degree. But the things I have witnessed, I've witnessed children manifest within the room, running around the room, skating around the room, unwrapping presents around the room. And to me, that in itself, it's a wow moment. It's a miracle. And I've seen it time and time again, but I can never tire of seeing it. And I remember one time, a couple of years ago, this was in New Orleans, there's a young gentleman communicator that comes through quite a lot in our circle, known as Norman. When Norman lived within this world, he had a condition known as Down syndrome. And when he comes through, he speaks and communicates. He's a funny little chap. And in New Orleans, we were sat there, and he had everyone's hearts within his hand. He was running around the seance room. He was talking to people. He was holding people's hands, holding their knees. And then something miraculous happened. All of a sudden, there was another materialized form within the room that turned out to be another young lady who'd passed and used to live in this world, who had Down syndrome. But unbeknown to me, her mother was in the room. So she was over the other side of the room having a conversation with her mum, holding her mum, hugging her mum. And the people around her mum, she knew they were close friends. While Norma was over this side of the room, having a conversation with other people within the room. And for me, I'd never seen that before, even in a home set. And I was like, wow, this is a miracle. If many of you know me and Scott, Scott's demonstrated in many venues, but one of the venues we used to demonstrate quite a lot within the UK, we was always known for turning up late. Not intentionally, but we used to work all day, full-time jobs, would finish work at 5:30, and the demonstration was starting at 7:30. We had to drive up to London and back out again to the southeast of England. And lo and behold, we always got caught in rush hour traffic or whatever. And we was always late for the demonstration, not intentionally. So we was always known as the late mediums, always late. But actually, when I look back, the reason we was late, when we turned up at the venue, I'd go running into the room, I'd give my apologies for everyone and start the pre-seance talk. Scott would go up into the seance room and make sure with the owner and make sure everything was set up right. And then we'd go in and start the demonstration. But the good thing was, we never knew anyone. We didn't have time to engage in conversation with anyone. Scott never saw anyone. He was in the seance room. So literally everyone was ushered in, sat down, and the seance took place. But the things that took place, the people that came through and communicated with people who were in that room, to me in itself was a miracle. We didn't know who was in that room. We didn't have time. We literally walked in. There was a room of 40 people. I'd done the hello, done a quick talk, got everyone in. I didn't know who was in there. And to me, that's a miracle. The way the spirit world can orchestrate, the same as mental mediumship. It's like on here today. Phil and Kerry are going to demonstrate shortly. They don't know who's here. And I think it's such a miracle. The spirit world, they know who's here. They've planned tonight, they've planned it way back. They know exactly what's going to happen and who's going to come through. But I never tire of seeing it or hearing it, because that in itself is a miracle. You don't know who's there. And in a lot of seances, there's a kind of rough process, I suppose is the word. We do the searches, we go and we sit down, we do an opening prayer, we start off singing, then there could be phenomena, then there could be communication from loved ones, but it can vary. There's no set sort of procedure. But the main thing that's always the same in a seance is you go in, sit down, open in prayer, start off singing to raise your energy, raise the vibration. But a few years ago, we was driving up to St Oswestry in Shropshire in the UK to do a demonstration. And again, I was wowed in that seance. We turned up an hour and a half late. We left in plenty of time. It should have been a 4-hour journey, and it turned into a 9.5-hour journey. There was traffic everywhere. Which road we went down, there was traffic. We was on the phone to the host, all the way up there, we are on our way, we're stuck, we're here, we're there. Anyway, so we turned up an hour and a half late. I think the seance should have started at 7:30, and we turned up at 9 o'clock at night. And I remember phoning the hosts, just make me a cup of coffee. I'll drink my coffee while I'm doing the talk for the pre-seance talk. Scott went straight into the seance room. Again, no idea who's going to be there. And something miraculous happened in that seance. It was one of the best seances I've ever been into. We started off, done the opening prayer. I think I just started the first line of the opening song. There was a person there. There was a voice, came through. There was no introductions. He just started talking, and his daughter was sat a couple down from me. And unbeknown to me, he'd only passed 7 days prior to this. And normally when there's a loved one come through, like with Phil, like with Kerry, mental mediumship, there's a build up. You know, I have a gentleman here, past of this, looking for his daughter, whatever it may be. But this communicator, just his voice, middle of the room, his voice boomed out. I want to speak to my daughter, so and so. Started talking, and they engaged in conversation. And I was like, oh my God, this has never happened before. To me, that was a miracle. And it, you know, it happened time and time again in different venues, different events. So I always look back and question, you know, we're always late to events, not intentionally, we leave plenty of time, but for whatever reason we're late. Is that intentional or is that orchestrated? It makes me question. I think I know what the answer is. But for me, that's more magical, that's more miraculous, because we haven't got time to know people or meet people. And when you get this sort of level of communication, to me, it just blows my mind every time. And I can only talk about, I mean, I can go on forever. As you can see, I'm getting excited. I'm like, wow. And when Sandra asked me to talk about the miracles of the saints, I thought, where am I going to start? What am I going to talk about? There's been so many. So I can only touch on a few because I'll keep people all night otherwise. Again, I can only, you know, Scott, many of you know, is dyslexic. So he struggles with English, let alone other languages. But when we've been in other countries, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, you know, I've been in awe. You know, a communicator will come through and start talking in the language of the country where we're in. I'm sat there, have no idea what they're talking about, but they're engaged. Someone's engaging in a conversation with this communicator, and I have no idea what's being said. And for me, that's a miracle. It just shows the intelligence, and you know, it shows how wow the spirit world are, and it shows what they can do and what is possible. And I'm just going to touch on another medium, David Thompson. Many of you may have heard. I've been lucky enough to sit with David a number of times as well, because there's a closeness between the two circles. And for me, I question and challenge all the time. I never just sit down and accept everything. I always question, how does that work? How is this, you know, even with when someone does manifest, well, hang on, how's that happening? When there is a communication, I still question it, you know, and I think we should all, in a constructive and positive way, we shouldn't just sit back and accept anything and everything. For me, I like to understand the mechanics behind it. And I want to know what's going on, how it's going on. And over the years, I've kind of got, with Scott, I know when something's not right and when it is right, and I will challenge it in the right way at the right time. And I'm always throwing questions up to the upper world and challenges. But I know when I sat with David Thompson one time, I've seen the manifestations, you know, and etc. But I remember being in a seance and I was asked to be part of the lead in the circle. So I was sat next to the cabinet. And I remember one of the guides coming through, walking around the room and talking to me. And I thought, that's great, but I want more. I want to know more. I want to understand more. And I never forget, it was the middle of summer. We was in a place in Wales. We was trapped into this airtight room. It was so hot. We was all in there in shorts, t-shirts, vest, and nobody had shoes on. And I remember sitting there, and this particular person, through David Thompson, came over to me. He wasn't talking to me, he was talking to someone else, but he came and stood next to me. I could feel the leather. He stood gently on my foot. I could feel the leather shoes. He was stood right next to me, and I could feel like a heavy duty tweed coat. I could feel it brushing against my legs, and he kind of let me know. I could feel that nobody in there had a tweed jacket. Nobody in there had boots on. For me, that was a miracle. It was, you know, I could go on forever about all the miracles I've experienced within the seance room. But like I said, we would be here all night. But for me, I was introduced to this world, the unseen world. I was introduced and I went into the door of physical mediumship, and I've witnessed and experienced all these wonderful forms of phenomena. I've seen many wonderful forms of phenomena, but for me, the biggest miracle is the change the spirit world can make on someone's life. Somebody going through trauma, someone going through upset, you know, and I've seen it time and time again, whether it's in physical mediumship with Scott, whether it's within mental mediumship with Phil and Kerry. I've seen it time and time again, is the difference the spirit world truly can make to all of us and within all of our lives. And for me, that is the biggest miracle of all. So I'd like to thank you for listening to me go on And I could go on forever. Trust me, there's so many miracles I could talk about, but I won't. I'll hand you over to another miracle known as Sandra Champlain.
Thanks, Darren, and thanks, Carrie and Phil. You guys can see why I love them so much, why they're my best friends in the whole wide world, Scott included. And you probably feel the same way I do. When things seem too good to be true, they probably are. And when I heard about this form of mediumship that Darren was talking about, I thought there's no way that's possible. That's impossible, until I took a trip and found out it's possible. In fact, the history of mediumship actually started with these stories like Darren is talking about back in, I think it was the mid 1800s. And even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, that wrote Sherlock Holmes, gave it all up when he was in touch with the spirit world through this. So, my friends, when things seem too good to be true, they probably are. And I am here to tell you it's because I think we're living in a grand illusion. I think it's one that we signed up for. I think it is quite possible that underneath it all, our souls know how powerful and how divine we are. But that place we are before we come to earth, it doesn't have the richness. It doesn't have the opposites. You know, I don't know about you, but some of the biggest growth I've had in my life as a human has come out of the very, very toughest times. And that place that we are before we come to earth, I don't think we get to experience it there. So when we come here, I feel like we sign a contract saying we're going to forget who we really are to participate in that. But we all have these powers of the soul. You know, Carrie and Phil were talking about this light that's within us. We are tapped into the divine. I've done experiments that are like experiments in miracles, and through gratitude and different practices, we can make stuff happen. So I know very clearly that our prayers work and our energy works and what we focus on grows. So it is very important to focus on the positive. I took a course once and it was on dowsing. I don't know if you're familiar with people that would look for the underground streams and where to dig a well. And there's, these two rods that you have, or maybe a stick. And we actually did dowsing of humans' energy. And I will talk a little bit about this because science has actually proved that this is real. There has been tests done on the electromagnetic energy that emanates from a human body. So if we are sulking, or if we're sad and we don't feel so well, the devices cannot pick up very much electromagnetic energy radiating from us. And when we were doing the dowsing experiment, we had these little rods, and if people thought of something sad, sure enough, those dowsing rods opened up very, very close to their form. And then we did something, and this is what I'm going to ask you guys to do. You don't have to do it now, but maybe we will do it before the song, is to think of things that you really love in your life, or think of somebody that you really love. You can probably start feeling that right now, who it is that you love, or what's your favorite vacation spot? You know, can you put yourself drinking a little tropical drink, sitting on a beach somewhere, or climbing in the mountains? You know, those things that make you feel good. What are you grateful for, really? You know, when you start getting the juices flowing of gratitude, and then add that on top of love, and then what makes you laugh? I can remember sitting with Scott and Darren and Carrie and Phil, and I tell you guys that we had laughed so hard that my face hurt from smiling. My belly hurt because it was just so much pain because I haven't used those laughing muscles in so long. Well, guess what happens, both with the dowsing rods and both with the scientists that test the electromagnetic energy, is this energy field goes way far out from our bodies. So we are some kind of an energy vehicle. We're able to make stuff happen and really send out those vibrations. It seems like science fiction, but it's very real. Do you remember the movie Matrix? And there's other movies like that as well, that these people really think they're living real life, only to find out that their real bodies are lying somewhere connected to who knows, all kinds of devices, and this world within a world is just happening in their mind. just recently I bought, and I think you might have heard me tell this story before, is Scott and Darren turned me on to something called an Oculus Quest. It's a virtual reality headset that goes on. Now I put it on to exercise. There's a great game on it that I can hit balloons and squat to triangles and get a good workout. But it puts me on top of the Great Wall of China on some beautiful beach. I've been climbing some of the mountains that Carrie has climbed. It puts me in a 3D reality that there's birds flying, the water is coming up on the beach. I feel like I'm there. Now, can you imagine our life right now could be like we're in virtual reality? And we've bought into that this is all real. But here's the thing. If we take off the headset, we realize that there's a much bigger reality going on. In my interviews, I have interviewed many people that have had near-death experiences, and they compare life, what they experience when they cross over, to what it feels like for us when we wake up from a dream. So you know what it's like to be dreaming. I think we all do. And dreams can seem so very real, don't they? And then we wake up, and sometimes we're really glad that we woke up. Sometimes we wish we were still back in the dream, but it's so evident that we were just dreaming. And I can remember one of the race car drivers that I talked to, a friend of mine, he actually saw his grandfather when he crossed over for that brief time. And he said it made this world seem like just a dream. And so I think that we do make some kind of an agreement that we'll come to this place called Earth and that we'll participate so that we can really get growth for our soul. But my friends, we are powerful. And to turn on that divine light, to expand it, to have our prayers and healing intentions and the things that Darren was mentioning, have things be real in reality, that takes us feeling good, that takes energy. And while we can't individually change the pain and suffering globally on planet Earth, I do think together we can. You know, in the Bible, there's a quote, when two or more are gathered in his name. Well, I think when two or more are gathered in the truth of who we really are, when we can let our lights shine and remember that's who we really are, we can make stuff happen. Really, if you look up any kind of the quantum world of things, you'll realize that everything we can see and touch and hear, everything's made of energy, down to our tiniest little molecule that's going through us. Inside of it, there's atoms that are bouncing around. And if you put a tiny little camera in one of them, it couldn't capture anything. Somehow, miraculously, you and I and everything that we see, we're vibrating energy. We are invisible vibrating energy. And I'm just looking out my window here and I see rocks and I see trees and of course my birds and grass and things. But millions of years ago, this was just a planet filled with the basic elements. How is it possible that everything we see, all this technology, everything just stemmed out of those basic materials? My friends, the illusion is that this life is it. And I do think we buy into it because we get much more experience being part of it. But in times like we're experiencing in the world right now, in times of sadness, in times of grief, it's important to take off the virtual reality lens and say, you know what? There's a whole life, invisible life, miraculous life that's taking place around us. So with that, we're going to move into our demonstration of mediumship, which is miraculous as well. Carrie and Phil have studied and trained and now have been teaching for quite some time how to use the powers of our soul and communicate with those people in the unseen world. And yes, our friends and loved ones, they are still people. They are not balls of energy floating around. And they have a commitment that people can let their words be heard again. So through our demonstration, we'll get a handful of representatives of the spirit world that will come through, give messages and details about their lives to some people in our congregation here. But they're coming through to let all of us know that our loved ones are around. It's not just these few people that come through that they're the only ones here. Oh no, there are thousands. It could be a few hundred of us in our Sunday gathering. There could be many, many, many thousands of them. I think it's important, the words that come through, to really take on as good words of advice for all of our lives. You know, I can always take something golden out of the words shared from these communicators. So when Carrie and Phil work, they will give you different bits of information about the spirit person who has contacted them. And the spirit world is in charge of this. They know who's in our audience. Wherever in the world you are, they know you're here. They will first deliver different bits of information. I have a man here. He says he's a father. Maybe he did this for work. And I want you to listen in closely. If you can accept every bit of information, like, I know that person, you know, that's somebody that I knew that no longer walks this earth. We want you to press your raise hand button. Now, this could be a friend, it could be a family member. Sometimes it's someone distant, but really listen in close. And I've already got some people pressing the raise hand button. If you're new to the Sunday gathering, or if you just want to get a little exercise, find that raise hand button and press it now and see what happens. You guys are so good. And then you can press it one more time. It'll say lower hand. Take your hand down. Sometimes there are several people that can accept the information. So it may take a minute or two till we find who this communicator is here for. And at what time when we do, I will press a magic button on my side that will allow you to unmute yourself. Now, you can't see that yet on your screen. I have to do something on my side. But when you talk with Carrie and Phil, let them do the work. Let them pull the evidence that this truly is your friend or loved one. So as they speak, all we need you to say is yes, no, or I don't know to the information that they give. Sound good? And again, I just want to remind everyone, please only raise your hand if you can take 100% of the evidence. If you cannot, then Carrie or Phil will work a little more to see either where they've connected incorrectly, or maybe there's more information to give. So just do me and all of us the favor of that. Now we're going to go into a very powerful song, and we've heard it before on our Sunday gathering, but it's called From Now On. And so you don't have to raise your hand now, but you can if you want to. From this point forward, not just in our Sunday gathering, I want you to declare, if you are someone who will take on that you can make a difference in this world, that when times are tough, you can engage people in conversation and ask them about their favorite things and do things to bring a smile to someone else. Raise your hand. Very good. I want you to turn on the funny. From now on, you will, yes, it's important to know what's going on in the world, but you can bring brightness wherever you go. From now on, I will do that. Look at the hands being raised. You can add your own, and we're going to listen to the song From Now On. And I want you to think of your happy times, happy memories. Invite in the invisible space around you, your loved ones. Not that you need to, because they are here. So here's our song, everybody. From Now On.
I love that song too, Sandra. It's one of my favorites. So thank you very much for choosing that. It has been an absolute delight hearing everybody talk about that unseen world, those miracles, and those elements that we're passionate about. So it's my pleasure to be able to work with Phil and work with the spirit world, because as that song came on, I know I have Mum here, and I know that there would be memories of watching the great I'm going to need to change that actually. I know I have Mum here, and I know that when you went to watch The Greatest Showman, there was something in you stirred, because I know that Mum has that passion about her, but I also know that Mum loved musicals, and you would have a memory of going to watch a musical with Mum just before she passed.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, to our friends with us, if you would raise your hand if this information is acceptable to you. Do you know this lady? Don't have any hands raised just yet. Oh, I spoke too soon. We have Kathy with her hand raised. And Kathy, could you press your unmute button?
Yeah,
Hi,
there we
Kathy.
go. Yeah.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Kathy. You understand
Hello.
everything I've said? Hello, you understand everything I've said?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, then I know your mum would have been such a joyful person and would not have wanted to look on the negative side of life.
That's true.
Because I want to say with your mum, even as she got older, I know she would have wanted to protect everybody else from what was happening with her.
Oh, always.
And I know, Kathy, that when you were watching The Greatest Showman, it must have really stirred something in you to the point where you felt your mum come forward.
I think so.
Because I need to say to you, Kathy, that that's one of my favorite songs, but I know that at the time that you watched that, this was your mum's way of letting you know to carry on being positive, because I know when you watched that, life was a little bit tough for you.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this is Mum's way of saying she absolutely is there for you. But I need to say as well that you must, when that song came on, it is one of my favorites, but
Yeah.
you must have had a thought to the spirit world as you were listening to that song about, from now on, I am going to.
Oh, yes. Yes.
This is your mum's way of acknowledging that. But I need to say as well, that photograph you have of your mum in, we would call it a handbag, but in your purse, you know that that photograph goes everywhere with you.
No, I don't
Then
understand that.
Okay, then I have to say your mum must have had, because I know I've got one of those little passport photographs. Your mum must have carried about with her one of those little photographs.
Yeah, it's above my computer.
Okay, because I know what I'm seeing here. Your mum absolutely wants to pump positivity into you through your veins, through your soul. And I know that her way of letting you know she's here is by saying, from now on, there is no from now on, because for me, there always has been. I always have been with you.
Gosh, yes.
I need to leave that with you, Kathy, and say absolutely thank you for joining us, and thank you for allowing me to do that for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Carrie, and Mom as well.
Okay, I also, as I become aware of the spirit world again, I feel that there is another. I actually need to speak to Kathy momentarily. Sorry, Kathy.
Let me get her back. All
Kathy,
right,
Yes.
I would that musical you went to see with your mum, there
Yeah.
must have been memories of you being there with your mum, and in the interval you going and being able to get ice cream and those little bits that we do in the intervals. But you must have very recently found that program, or remember that program for the musical you went to see.
I had a memory of it last night, but not a program.
Okay, but because as I finished with your mum, and your mum was saying, I'm very polite, dear, but I do want to speak everything I want to speak. So I know your mum always finished off what she came to do. Please know that she is with you. She absolutely adores you. And that little bit of trouble in the family, know that she's got her, I'm touching my nose, but she's got her eye on it for you.
Oh. Thank you, Carrie.
You're very welcome,
Thank
Kathy.
you,
Thank
Mom.
you very much.
Oh, beautiful.
Thanks for bringing us back in, Sandra. Because as I went back for mum, I thought, oh, this is Kathy's mum back again. Okay, I need to say that I have father here, and I know he's saying, don't call me father, this is dad. So I know I have dad here, and I know there would be memories with dad of going walks in the snow, but I don't feel that dad or you lived in a place where you would have got mounds of snow, but I do know there are memories of you going and walking in this deep snow. I need to also say that you would have, okay. I know too that with dad, there was this incredible sense of pride with him and an incredible sense of wanting to do what was right.
Very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, who understands this information about dad?
I'm just going to change that ever so slightly, Sandra. I need to say that everything with dad stands, but somebody very recently has gone walking in the snow. But everything with dad still stands. But I know that there are memories of dad walking with you from the spirit world in the snow, but it must have been snow that was very, very high. So wherever you live, I kind of know how it feels because I've lived in a place with a lot of snow, but I know that dad has this overwhelming sense of duty and pride, and I know that he wants to reach. I actually feel I'm reaching out to son.
Okay. Who can understand this? There's no hand raised just yet.
Then I don't want to go too far away from that.
We have a gal with her hand raised. We have Amy. Let's listen to Amy. Amy, could you press your unmute button? Hi,
Yeah.
Amy.
So, yeah, hi. So, hi.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. So actually this could be my son, but he is also a dad. But he is my son. So I don't know. I wasn't sure whether I should raise my hand.
And that's okay, because we do say don't raise your hand unless you can understand everything. I don't feel son, Amy. I'm so sorry, but I don't feel it's son.
Okay.
Is there anybody else, Sandra, that understands this information?
All right, Denise.
I don't feel it's son. I do feel it's a gentleman.
All right, Denise, could you press your unmute button?
Hi.
Hi, Denise. Do you understand everything I've said?
Yes.
You understand that you have recently been out walking with those
Yes.
deep snow rifts, but you understand Dad as well would have been an incredible man of ethics and morals and values.
Yes. Minister.
And I thank you for giving me that. And I can't give you that back as evidence, but I know with him, he would have very much stood by his values and his morals.
Yes.
I also know with your dad that I know you've given me that he was a minister, but he must have ministered in the community as well, not just in the church.
Yes.
Because I feel that he would have gone out and shared his values with members of the community.
Yes.
But with your dad, there's an incredible sense with him of even when he felt things were wrong or done incorrectly, he wouldn't chastise somebody. He would see that everybody could benefit from a little bit of love and understanding.
Absolutely correct.
I do feel that your father, he's saying don't call me father, and I know why I got father, but your dad would have believed that everybody deserved a second chance.
Yes.
And with that, Denise, you would know with your dad that he sees that there's horrific things happening in the world. But within your life, I know your dad wants to talk about the fact that you have given many second chances.
I have given personally.
Yes.
I suppose I have.
But I want to say very recently, your dad sees that you have had to go deep within yourself and allow that second chance to be given.
Yes.
But that second chance is actually many more than the second chance.
Yes.
Your dad sees that. I know too with your dad that he had this compassion for people that often kept him up late at night and early in the morning, where he would be on call almost 24/7.
Sometimes.
And I know your dad must have taken a number as a minister. I know he would, but I know he must have taken a funeral service for somebody very dear to him as well.
Likely, yes, he has.
Because I know that this is even beyond something that's difficult. There's a sense with him of wanting to do what's right. Please know your dad is very much seeing that you're standing by your values and your morals. You're offering second chances, and that compassion, he's almost given me the impression of you being like a rubber stamp of him, very similar. If we
Yes.
leave our footprint on the earth, then you and him would leave a very, oh, you've got an earth on your t-shirt, and then you and him would leave a very similar footprint on the planet. I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to do that, Denise, and please know your dad and your loved ones are very close to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
It's a pleasure doing those for everybody. I'm going to now pass to Phil for him to be able to work for you as well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Carrie. And we have our shift change to the lucky chair. Hello,
Lucky
Carrie.
chair. Hello, Sandra. Hello, everybody that's watching. It's an absolute delight to see Kerry move within that power and let it affect her, as we've talked about today with the unseen world. So I'm going to do exactly the same and keep that power going, because I do believe I have husband with me. I know husband passes very quickly because I know it's a heart attack. He suffers. And I also know he was very young when he passes as well. But I want to say this, we would have lived in a small community, and I know it's almost like everyone was on first name terms, and I just get the impression that he was so popular as well, well liked. So I know our husband, I know he passes with that heart, I know we lived in a small community, and I also know here, like I said, first name terms, we would have been on term with a lot of people.
Wonderful. Thank you, Phil. All right. We've got Lori with her hand up straight away. Lori, could you press your unmute button? Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello, Laurie. You understand everything I've said?
Absolutely.
And would you understand with your dad, with your with him? Bear with me 1 second. My mind's just gone blank all of a sudden. Would I be right in saying he was quite popular? He got on with everybody.
Yes, he did.
And if I said that he could charm the birds out of the trees?
Oh, definitely.
Because I just get this overwhelming sense I want to get on with things, don't want to delay. And if I said he had this canny knack of, as we say here in the UK, of being positive as all the time.
Oh my God, yes, always positive.
Because and if I said, I'm not being rude here, if anyone was a little bit negative, he didn't want to stick around. He just wants to keep that positive flow moving.
Always, yes, so true.
And would I be right in saying that he would be able to tell stories and really interact with people?
Oh my gosh, he was the best.
Because it just feels I could sell ice to the indigenous people and everything else. He just has that real charm and really positive, affectionate personality.
He was a charmer.
Okay, as well. But I want to go back a few steps. Where he would have lived would have been like a small town or small community.
Yes, very small.
And it feels like everything happened in the center. It's almost like the center was like the crossroads.
Yes.
And it just feels that he could walk in any shop and everyone knew who he was.
Yep, for sure.
And it just feels as we walk down the road with him, you'd have memories of people shouting out his first name and he would do the same.
Exactly.
And it just feels here that it was a community where we could reach out to everybody and anybody and they would come and help.
Always.
Because it's just this impression that he keeps on painting. But would I be right in saying you've been looking at a photograph of him just recently?
Yeah, this morning.
Good, because I know there's been words to him, but I do believe you were looking at a photograph, and I do believe that you said that you loved him.
Oh, yeah, many times today.
But I also believe as well, just recently, and I don't feel it was this morning, where you've said to him, I need help, I need those signs.
You did. Yeah.
Because that's why he's coming today, to give you that sign, to bring you that upliftment, but also to bring that positivity in your life. And would I be right in saying that he had a wonderful way about him of exaggerating a few stories, making them sound better than they were?
Oh my God, this is him 100%.
Because I know with him, there's this incredible sense of wanting to inspire people and wanting to inspire you particularly with your imagination.
Yes.
That's fine. And would I be right as well saying that you have cards from him still?
I think I have all of them. Yes.
Because I'm like, well, you've told me that now, because I know here it feels like there's a fur collection. But I also want to say that you yourself are very sentimental, and you've looked at one or two of these cards recently and read the verses and words.
I was probably a couple months ago.
Because that's what I mean. I know it's not, I know there's something about it, but I know here it's about letting you know how much that he's not just around you, but through that miracle of the unseen, proving that he's been with you by the things that you've done as well. And just one last thing, he says there's been a conversation where you've wanted to go back to either that town or a place that has fond memories with him.
I'm still in that place.
Ah, that's fine. Then you must have been talking about him recently.
This morning.
Good. I'm going to leave his love with you and say thank you very much for allowing me to do that.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Phil.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I do believe I have a lady with me. I know this is Mother, and I know that Mother is quite, I'm going to use an UK word, she's quite bossy. She wants to be in charge, and I know there would be a memory where she would help out at the local school, and everyone would know her, but you would be, and it feels like I want to talk to daughter, where you would be a little bit embarrassed at times with Mum and the way she was in this school, because I feel it was the school you attended.
All right, thank you very much. You can understand this lady.
In fact, what I'm going to do is repeat it because I know I said it very fast. I do believe I have Mum. I do believe that Mum would have either helped out at school, and I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. And I do believe that it would have been the school that you went to, and I do feel it's a young lady I want to speak to. And I know that Mum could be quite bossy and direct and very well organized. And I know, in fact, I'm going to change one thing. I know I've made a mistake. I do believe she worked at that school. I don't feel she just helped her. I believe she worked at that school.
Okay, thank you, Phil. All right, who understands this information? This lovely lady. We have Angela with her hand raised. Angela, can you press your unmute button? There you are. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Hello, Angela. Do you understand everything I've said?
I do so far, yeah.
Good. And would you understand with your mum, she liked to be really efficient and she liked to get everything as perfectly right as she could?
Absolutely.
And if I also said, Angela, that she was, she could really bossy people about and give them orders?
Yeah, definitely.
And if I said that she could embarrass you at times as well?
Yes.
Because I get this impression, but I also feel she doesn't stand on ceremony. She's so fixed with what she does because she loves it and she's so passionate about it. It's almost like I'm just telling people what to do, but I forget who people are.
Sometimes, yes.
Because it just feels with this, even if she was telling the headmaster or telling other parents, she'd speak to me exactly the same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if I also said, Angela, that she was a woman that loved family as well,
Yes.
because I just feel that family celebrations, in particular birthdays, were important to her.
Yes.
And would I be right in saying that it was her birthday shortly before she passed?
No.
Then if I'm wrong with that, it must have been a member's of the family's birthday before she passed.
No.
If I'm wrong, because I'm going to open my mind to this, because I know there is something to do with birthdays. If I've got it the wrong way round, she must have either passed just before somebody's birthday.
Not that I can think of.
Bear with me. Would I be right in saying with Mum that she was always very thorough? She remembered birthdays. She had them all marked and occasions.
Yes.
And if I said that she was organised, she'd had things done in advance.
Yes.
Would I be right in saying that even when she passed, she had everything? People either received cards or gifts even afterwards.
I don't know.
Because I know here there should be a memory. Please get back in touch with me and let me know, not just leaving it there. But I just feel with your mum, she was a lady that you couldn't say no to either.
Yes.
Because I know that she'd come back with another reason or two reasons why everything had to be done.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to let go of that, but it's just her personality. Would I also be right in saying with your mum that she kept a lot of things to herself?
Very much so.
She could be very private.
Yes.
Because, and I know there's an element of your mum's life she didn't speak about, and I believe this was the younger part of her life.
Absolutely right.
And again here, she says to me, and I get the impression within my mind with it also, there's no good comes of talking of the past. So it's almost your mum always wanted to keep moving forward.
Absolutely amazing.
And again,
yes.
I feel that she, Angela, would have let you or taught you exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know here she wants to reiterate the words to me, there's no good coming from the past. We always look to the future and we learn from our mistakes. Understand?
Yes, totally. Yeah.
That's fine. Your mum, she's not letting go of this birthday. There must be birthdays coming up within the family just now.
Can I say it just now? It's just my birthday.
That's fine, because I know I keep on having to say happy birthday. I want to go over it. So
okay,
I know
but not before she died. But
okay,
but
that's fine.
today.
That's fine. My mistake then. But I know she keeps on, because I never let go of everything. I want the spirit world. I let go to let it come. And I know she kept on saying happy birthday. But I do believe there's a few birthdays coming up in quick succession.
Yes.
Because I know Mum's got a little book and she's flashing it through for me as well. But again, it just feels that Mum didn't just buy presents for the sake of it. They were very meaningful and very poignant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I said that she got practical presents, things that people needed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it feels here, I don't want to fritter money away or waste it. I want it to mean something. And even though we may celebrate birthdays, I actually feel with Mum, it feels where she would buy things that would have those practical uses and make a difference in people's lives.
Always.
And I want to say one last thing from Mother. You must have been considering a holiday just recently.
Yeah.
Because she says we go and enjoy life. Now, it's up to you whether you do it, but I know I've got to repeat Mum's words here about enjoying self. And I do believe that Mum had this saying that you can't take it with you, so make the most of it.
Yes.
So I'm going to lead Mum's love, but just before I do, you must understand a lady in the spirit world by a name of Nellie as well.
No.
I do believe that should be Nellie. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is Margaret?
Margaret, yes.
That's fine. But I know to your mum, she would have called her Nellie, because I know there's a Nellie in the spirit world with her. But I know with Mum as well, she liked to talk and interact with people.
Oh, yes.
Because I know as much as I'm talking to her, I can hear this accent talking to other people behind me. And I know she's still full of life. I also know she was very proud of you as well, Angela.
Thank you.
because I know she's still talking about you here, and I know she's trying to get things in order for those dreams and wishes you've just had. And I know it's the easiest thing to say, but I know there's been a real, just recently, a reflection over things and how you want life to change.
Yeah.
I know Mum knows about it, and I know it's very personal and heartfelt, and I know she's doing her best for you as well. And one last thing, there must be a picture of Mum at school with students or pupils where she was working.
Don't know if I got a picture.
Let me take that back. I've actually got it. There must be pictures you have from your school days that Mum kept.
Yes.
I'm going to leave that love with you and say thank you very much for allowing me to work with you, Angela. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's always been a miracle. It always will be a miracle to work for the spirit world and have that passion, enjoyment. But one thing I always take is from the pleasure and the positivity of the spirit world and the communications. For them to pass through us just like that healing, it leaves a little bit of them with us. So we really are infused by them. So I hope that's inspired you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure, Sandra, once more to be involved in the Sunday gathering with you, with Darren, with Kerry, and everyone out there as well. So thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil. And thank you, everyone. You know, our loved ones are all around, and these folks came through as demonstrations that our love is real. We're still here. We're still people. They're going to be the first ones to greet us when it's our time, but not too soon on that. But what's important really is we want to buy into the illusion so much. It's awful. We don't have a choice. We're human beings. So we need to do things to remember that there's a bigger picture. Carrie mentioned, and Darren mentioned too, we sit with our eyes closed for different intentions, sitting in the power. We offer different courses during the week, and just about everything we do on Friday, we're with Scott Milligan with Sitting for Healing, followed by a demonstration of trance mediumship. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays with Phil and Carrie. Tuesdays, Scott is going to be doing Sitting in the Power. There's a lot that happens. It is so critical, I think, to learn your own soul's abilities, because once you start tapping into that, you're not going to forget. And also, keep yourself plugged into something. Keep coming back to our Sunday gatherings. Join us for a course if you'd like. I've got well over 400 episodes of podcasts about the afterlives, really great conversations. Oh, and there's so much more. Carrie and Phil have a great YouTube channel. I do, Scott does. But when we can keep ourselves plugged into something, it'll help us all remember this bigger picture. So WeDon'tDie.com is our home base. You can click on At Home Courses. You can sign up and watch some of our past replays and get in touch with your own psychic nature and how it works. And then maybe join us for a live class and maybe move into mediumship. Lots to explore there. If you go to the store page, you see everything that's coming up, free and not free, and you can join us. And yeah, I think that's it for announcements, but I want to thank everyone who has donated to our Sunday gathering. It's made a difference for the four of us and for getting the word out. So I won't ask you to raise your hand, but I just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All right, from now on, so I'm going to pass it over to Carrie.
Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us, allowing us to share our truth with you. And as we move to the end of another Sunday gathering and the beginning of a week, although those of you down under have already started your Mondays, know that you can, in this time of need, make a difference. Don't think that you are just one person. You are one part of a whole unseen world. If you close your eyes, then everybody else is unseen, and yet you can still feel us. If you believe that everybody else is with you, which they are, seen and unseen worlds, then everybody coming together can make a difference. So if you can, every single day, send that thought every time you see something that creates a want in you to make a difference, every time you hear something that makes you want to reach out and make a difference, replace that wanting with doing. Enter into that silence, raise your heart to the heavens, and allow that healing to flow to where it's needed. Every drop of healing makes a difference. You make a difference, and together as a global community, we can make an incredible difference. We will never see this side of life the difference that we make, but I believe in the unseen world, and I believe in miracles.
Thank you for that, Kerry, and thank you to all of you for joining us this week. If you'd all like to close your eyes and join me for the closing prayer. To our dear friends, helpers and loved ones, we'd like to thank you for the experience of allowing us to experience that world that is known to all of us as the unseen, and for allowing us to experience the illusion of life and the miracles of life day in and day out. We'd like to thank you today for allowing us to feel that healing balm, to hear those words of wisdom and to hear those words of truth. It has brought each and every one of us here that moment of healing, upliftment, comfort and happiness, and for that we thank you. And we'd like to thank you for allowing us to have these Sunday gatherings and to be part of these Sunday gatherings week in and week out, to allow all of us to unite together as one and truly embrace that joy and the wonderment of joining the two worlds together as one. And for all our workers here, we truly appreciate the opportunities to work with your world, for your world, and represent your world. And as always, we've done this to the best of all our individual abilities, and we hope we have done you proud and continue to do you proud going forward. As we close this Sunday gathering and begin a week of new, we do so in comfort and knowledge to know that that world called unseen continually walks beside us, helping us, guiding us and inspiring us in the best way that you can. And on our journeys, I'm sure we'll appreciate more illusions of life and miracles of life that we get to witness day in and day out. As we all go forward on our own journeys and our own unique pathways, we do so continuing to learn and to understand, but we do so with this pure love within our heart, and we can go forward in our truth that love and life are both eternal. And as we go into a new week, we ask that a healing balm is continually sent across our globe to help all of mankind, to bring happiness and upliftment to all those hearts and minds that are in need at this time. And we thank you once again, friends, until we meet again. Amen.
Thank you very much, Darren. And in closing, I got another one. From now on, I'm not giving up on anything, on yourself, on your dreams. Oh, hands are being raised. And that's the name of our closing song. This is just a video that is just near and dear to my heart. We've seen it before, but I tell you, it's one of my favorites. So here you go. I'm not giving up.